Good evening, everyone. I am delighted to welcome you all for this webinar on tiger shrimp farming practices. My name is Ravi Kumar Amirini, founder of Ravi Aqua Academy, and your host for today's webinar. Today's webinar is sponsored by Novachem Biosciences, providing scientific solutions to sustainable aquaculture. Several farmers are going for monodon seed stocking, so we felt this is the right time to organize a webinar on this aspect. That is why we have selected a highly experienced hands-on person, Dr. P. Cheran. He did his PhD in marine biology. He is the Vice President of All India Shrimp Hatcheries Association Tamil Nadu chapter, and he has got several awards like Bharat Gaurav Award, Best Technical Services Award, and the K. Chidambaram Memorial Award. Dr. Cheran, we are really fortunate to have you here. Please go ahead.
How we can reduce the production cost, cut down the production cost. We have to do very good pond preparation. I will explain how to do that. Good water filtration and treatment, and good seed selection, and eco-friendly pond management. No credit for farm inputs. If you follow these 5 criteria strictly, you will have very good survivability and uniform growth. So for biosecurity, you know, all these things, and most of the farming area, particularly tiger farming, where earlier we used to do in Guntur district, Repalli area, and vast farming area, we should have a proper crop fencing, and bird fencing is definitely it is required. Without bird fencing, you know, even if you have crop fencing, all other biosecurity in place, you will likely to lose the crop because of bird fencing. If you are not doing it properly, there is a chance of contamination by birds in many places. Even in Pumbhar area where we used to do, you know, everybody is doing very good, but except some bird fencing area, you know, people invite diseases, and once that area in one pond it is contracted diseases, that will spread like a wildfire to other ponds also. So the bird fencing is very, very important. Again, if you come into the other biosecurity issues, farm in closed system, you know, the compact area should be there. For particularly monodon, the area, I mean, smaller ponds is giving better performances than the bigger ponds. But your olden days, we used to have a very big ponds also. But very big ponds, feeding was the very, very important one. So you can't do it properly. So it should be a compact area, dike compacted. Why I am telling dike compacted? If you are not compacting the dike, there is always seepages from one pond to one pond, as the most of our coastal areas are having sandy soils. So the seepage, you know what happens? Suppose if one pond is getting affected, due to seepages, other pond will also get affected. We should have a proper slope ratio. That is 1:2. That is what is that? Your cross bund should be at least 2 meters, and the top of the bund should be 1 meter. So 1 meter width and 2 meter slope on both the sides. This will take care of the seepages, and it should be compacted properly. You may feel that such a big bund is required. Yes, it is required, because you know, by leaving some compact area, you can increase 1 or 2 pieces in the water spread area. That is not an issue. So it is very, very important to have a proper slope ratio, and dike has to be compacted in every year, one time during the summer crop preparation. And then reservoir 20 to 30% is very much required. And then disease pond preparation, how we have to do, I'll tell you. Sufficient gap between the crop, that is also very important in biosecurity issues. Next, please. Ravi, next, please. So what is the other biosecurity? So physical biosecurity, what we were discussing now, this is how the system biosecurity, where the biosecurity issues comes with the, the immunity and the water quality issues. So here what we have to do, we have to use probiotics before stocking. And you know, and I applied to whatever we have done, you know, earlier we used to do probiotics before stocking or after fertilization. Now what happens, you know, once you chlorinate the water and then dechlorinate, and the first application you're supposed to go for probiotic. If you are not doing probiotic and go for direct fertilization, it may increase the Vibrio population in such a system. So that we have seen. So here, the day after the dechlorination, the day one you start with the probiotic, and then you go for the other fertilization like our rice bran brew or dolomite application. And the probiotics can be given in the evening 4 o'clock, something like that. Every day it can be given till the time you stock it. For example, if the manufacturer gives a say 500 gram application per acre like that, you can split it to 100 gram and give for 5 days. That is sufficient before the stocking. and vitamin C and one good feed probiotic from day one onwards will take care of the immunity. Even now, I am checking with my boys are there in Krishna district. Our farm manager Shanmugam is there, and many area. What he is telling, many ponds are getting affected. I mean, our ponds are going good. Why? What is the difference? The only difference is the probiotic usage is different, and vitamin C and feed probiotic from day one, it is very much required. It is like a mother's milk, and that take care of our ponds. This only other people don't do these two things. This is the difference. And I'll tell you in later slides how it is going to, improve our proficiency, efficiency and the cost control. How much your money you are going to spend for this initial probiotic or vitamin C and feed probiotic, it is very, very less. And again, right quantities feed and spreading is very, very important, and good aeration is required and for the system. I remember when we used to do 20 count shrimp in Bapatla area, some 20 to 25,000 seeds per acre people will stock and used to erect 2 HP aerator from the beginning. So that gives the better production, and within 135 days we used to harvest 20 count shrimp. Yes, now we come for the pond preparation. Pond preparation, cleaning the pond thoroughly, removing debris, carcasses, algal mats. And we are, for tiger monodon production, always we are looking for 20 count and less than 20 count. And then last crop, when people were even able to produce 10 count, 12 count, and excellent performances. But when you look for such a big shrimp and always the extended period for the culture, let us say a minimum 5 months and maximum 6 months even in some cases. So you have to have the proper pond preparation is very much required. So once in a year, you have to do a very good preparation, dry preparation, and then go for a production. So perhaps probably say for March or April you have to stock, or even up to May you can stock. So that will be the very good period. March, April, May depends on the location of the area and the availability of water quality. And this is the better time to start with the pond preparation and stock it, so that you can have a very good size with the matching proper market demand. So drain the pond completely till the top, soil cracks, plowing, expose and aerate sediments. This is all we regularly do for both Vanami and tiger also. Decomposition, mineralization of the organic matter happens once you expose it, and particularly leave that pond for few months after the crop. That will for the reconditioning of the soil. Next, please. In case if the pond is WSC infected pond, how we should put it? The pond should be dried for at least 3 weeks to eradicate the virus from the pond. Free virus remains virulent outside the host up to 14 days at 22 degrees centigrade in wet pond. Even in wet condition, even it goes even beyond 20-25 days also now. So this is very much important. In case if it is affected shrimp, affected pond previously, that has to be dried properly and taken for the next crop. That is very important. Testing of soil pH. Once you test the soil, you know how to use the lime. Use lime, less lime or no lime. Because in certain cases, people use heavy doses of lime in the initial stages. That will lead to very high pH in the first month, and that will have always stress to the shrimp. So we have to be very cautious and test the soil. If the pH is about 7, 7.58, you don't have to do any lime at all. If it is less than 7, 6.5, 6, something like that, you have to do, or less than 5, you have to increase a little more quantity of lime. Say, for example, suppose if the pH is about 5, something like that, at the maximum, some 400 kg of burnt lime per acre is allowed. With that, you can do it. Always, you have to remember like this. In case after taking water, and if you are not happy with the pH, if the pH is low, you can always put some lime and increase the pH. But if it is very high, reducing is very difficult. So this you have to keep it in the mind. And pH, soil pH, you have to manage accordingly. Next, please. Yeah. We have done about soil pH, we have tested water, everything. What we have to do, water filling and treatment. Water filling and treatment, what we have to do, source water has to be filtered strictly for pests and predators. Minimum 3 sets of filters. And kindly remember that whatever we do, bleaching, we used the bleaching or chlorination effect to take care of the predator only. We are not aiming to kill the virus. That you'll have to remember. If you try to kill the virus and water will become sterile, that water will become no use for that. You cannot bring a life into that. So here you have to have a 3 complete set of filter, 3 sets of filter, 20 pores at the pump side and 40p for the next stage, 60p at the final stage. In case if the water is clear and you want to have still finer filtration, you can use even 80 pore sizes. So allow the water to settle and then treat. You can common chemicals used for disinfectants, BKC 0.5 to 1 ppm. That means say 5 liter to 10 liter per hectare water. For an acre, you can say 4 liter for 1 ppm, like that. Formalin, similarly, you can use 5 to 10 ppm. Potassium permanganate 2 to 4 ppm. Bleaching powder 300 kg per hectare, 1 meter water depth. That is, in case if the water is 1.2, accordingly you have to increase the bleaching powder. Tea seed cake 10 to 25 ppm. Tobacco dust 200 to 400 kg per hectare, 1 meter water. Iodine 4 to 5 liters per hectare, 1 meter water depth. So these are all the common things that of late I am doing. I am doing in Buckingham Canal production. My ponds are in Buckingham Canal. I am taking a raw water only initially, and then do only probiotic application. Go for stocking, not doing chlorination. Kindly remember that. What in the initial water. Subsequently, you can take a reservoir and go for minimum this thing. And this thing recently, even the CP Super Boss McIntosh has given in the international media that if you use bleaching and more quantity bleaching, that is going to be more problematic to the EHP infection. What does it mean? It only supports Vibrio infection. So you go with the natural water and without chlorination, go with the suppose triple salt, something like that. You can use some sanitizer and go with probiotic. It will have a varied dynamic probiotic strains in the water. And if you bleach it, only the Vibrio dominates. That we have to remember it. So where I am doing all adjacent ponds, they use a huge quantity of bleaching and they'll have a lot of problems getting the bloom properly. And then if they get infection, that is very severe and they cannot recover the pond. But in our case, generally it doesn't come. Even if there is some EHP infection, that can be easily treated. So here in the photos, what you can see, the first filter filtration, that is 20p can be used on the pumping and depends on the facility. Next, please. Yeah, this is the second set of filter, and third set of filter you can use it in the pond where you can see the pipe. You can keep it in the pipe, and then where the pumping is going on, third set of filtration is used. So the minimum 3 sets of filter is very much required, and you should have a spare filtration meshes in your site. Once you start the pumping, and suppose if you run the pump for whole daytime or even night time, you have to, out of 24 hours, at least 18-20 hours you can do pumping, and then just to switch off all the motor for the safety of the motor. When you are switching off the motors and pumps, you have to change the filtration completely. Remove all the old thing carefully from the water, and you should not open it. And many people, they wash it and open it there itself without knowing what they are doing. This is very, very important. So a farmer or a technical guy who involved in the production, he has to be very careful in pumping the water, and the filtration, he has to be there. And then the first used set of meshes can be washed properly. Yeah, then the next mesh has to be tied in the setting before the next pumping. This is very, very important. Whoever takes care of this thing, and then the quantity of chlorination is less, and the chances of getting the pests and predators in the water is very, very less. When you come to fertilization, there is no standard fertilization program as such, because we have got different varied salinities, different varied system of water, source water from creeks, open sea or borewell, or different areas. So there is no standard fertilization. A good fertilization program has to be developed by trial and error method for your own specific water. That will be highly suitable, site and water specific. So this is the general guideline. What I am giving is urea. Some 4, see here it is given urea, it is 4 part, and superphosphate 1 part for seawater. That means 30-35 ppt salinity water you have to use. Suppose if you use 16 kg urea per acre or per hectare, superphosphate is 4 kg, something like that. So 4:1 ratio it has to be given. If in the case the water is lesser salinity, not like seawater, brackish water, you can bring it down. Suppose 20 ppt, 15 ppt, urea should be 3 and superphosphate should be 2. In case still it is coming down 10 ppt, something like that, urea should be 2 and superphosphate should be 3 like that. In case it is fresh water, your urea quantity is reduced and the superphosphate quantity is increased. With this ratio, you will get a very good bloom that consists of at least 50% of diatoms. So that is very, very important. Once you fertilize, generally you get a bloom that will be like a coffee color. Initial days, but the coffee color comes with the diatom dominant, and slowly it will turn into green color and then establish as a light green color. That will be very good at this thing. Again, for the bloom development, you can use all these things. This is what regularly we were doing earlier. And then you see here what I was telling, the first application urea superphosphate, second the dosage already we discussed, dolomite 150 to 200 kg per hectare, and rice bran 50 kg, jaggery 5 kg, yeast 50 gram, 5 kg oil cake in case of less nutrient water and sandy soil. If the water is black soil and more nutrient water, you don't have to use oil cake. See here I have given fourth application as probiotic application. What I was talking to earlier, that is entirely different. So first application should be probiotic, and then you can follow all these 1, 2, 3 points. So during the bloom development, sometimes the filamentous algae will develop. In such cases, no synthetic fertilizer, because when monodon comes up, vanami is not an issue, because the density you use, always you put more aeration and vigorously aerate the pond, so there is no question of algal development generally. But in monodon, generally you always end up in suppose if the fertilization is not good, not properly develop the bloom, you will end up in filamentous algae problem. So such cases, once you see some filamentous algae in the pond, you should not use the synthetic fertilizer. There should not be dolomite. Why? Because dolomite has magnesium and silicate that will support the filamentous algae directly. In such cases, you have to go for only organic fertilization. Organic fertilization, probiotic brew will also help. Next, please. Filamentous algae. For organic fertilizer, what you can use tea seed cake, rice bran, wheat bran, soybean waste, oil cake, and cow dung can also be used. But cow dung, fresh cow dung, we should not use. You have to brew it and then use the juice only, because fresh cow dung will always attract bacterial contamination in the pond. So that you'll have to keep it in the mind. Agriculture lime instead of dolomite you can use for the filamentous algae pond, development pond. So daily chain dragging, dantulu, people in Telugu we call it dantulu. It's a combing effect on the bottom. So dragging has to be done till the bloom comes up. At least the bottom has to be disturbed to prevent the sunlight reaching the reaching down. Because if you allow the sunlight, that will be taken care of this filamentous algae. If you disturb in the morning time, you are making the water turbid. You are not allowing the sunlight to reach to the bottom level. That is very, very important. So too much phosphate in low salinity may lead to blue-green algae problem. Such cases, urea and ammonium nitrate would be a better choice in case of fresh water. So this is a filamentous algae pond. You can see the different kind of filamentous algae. This is very fine algae. If you just try to take out it will not come in the hand. It will dissipate in the water. It will be broken into pieces and will go to very fine algae. Next one, please. This is another kind of, we call it as Sakara. It is more Chetanasu. People call it, Telugu we call Chetanasu, like that. So that once it is developed, it will take all the nutrient and it will not allow the pond to bloom, and it will disturb. If it is uncontrollable, you may have to lose the pond also. In many cases, so if you are finding it initially, you have to take care, what I was telling, the proper fertilization regime. In case it is developed, you have to remove manually by keeping few people daily disturbing in the morning. No problem. Even if you spend some 10, 30 rupees or 30,000 rupees also for cleaning the pond, it is worth trying to save the pond. Otherwise, the entire pond, you will be losing it. Next, please. So this is the combing pond, what we call, many people, new people may not knowing. And here you can see that there is a rod. There is a rod here. It is some 3 or 4 inch nail has to be, welded here. And there is a small handle for supporting, there is a wooden plank is tied here. Here, 2 guys or 3 guys are 1 guy on the boys on the side. It can be used in the pond for a purpose. We use for such gear for that to comb the pond bottom. So this will disturb the bottom and completely, and then algal, it will not allow the sludge to settle in the bottom, and it will not allow the algae to develop. but it has to be done from the beginning. And if you already the algae is established and then you go for such a combing, that may not help you. So in such cases, you have to remove manually. So from the beginning, if you start doing, not only it prevents from the algal development, it takes care of the sludge, not allowing the sludge to accumulate in the bottom. By removing that, we are not allowing the pond to get any, EHP infection, such conditions. Please, next. This pond is being cleared for filamentous algae. You can see a lot of quantity. See here, the lot of quantity that every day it is being removed and kept on the bund. If you are continuously doing it 3-4 days or within a week, you can completely get rid of it, and then the bloom will start coming. When if the bloom is not there and the algal development is, if you keep on fertilizing, it is not going to do any help for you. It will only, accelerate the algal growth there. Next, please. So generally, initial days in the first month, you will have always that I was telling earlier. You have because of a bleaching effect and because of fertilization or wrong mineral application will always lead to higher pH. So higher pH we have to take in the initial month to get the shrimp out of the stress. You have to safeguard the pond, free from stress. What you can do, you have to do certain things to take care of this higher pH. Why high pH? It is lack of carbon dioxide in the system. If the carbon dioxide is started slowly building up, slowly the pH will come down. So to build up a carbon dioxide, you have to what you can use dolomite daily application 50 to 100 kg per acre, so that it will support the bloom, and the more plankton comes up, automatically the carbon dioxide is taken care by photosynthesis. See, rice bran you can use maida, you can use tapioca powder, you can use 10 kg plus 2 kg jaggery, yeast 50 gram brew daily till the pH drops. So this application you have to keep ready or overlapping each one, or a few drums. One day, today one drum, tomorrow one drum like that. Or if 50 kg if you put, you can use it one day and refill with some more water, and you can use it on second time, again third time also. Like that you have to do. Sugar 15 to 20 kg per hectare for a day for 2 to 3 days. If it is uncontrollable, very high pH is there, you can try, and that will give you a temporary relief in the pH. You can even use a tamarind, say 15 kg tamarind brewed in fresh water with some yeast. If you keep on the tamarind brewing, after 2 days, 3 days, you can check the brew pH. That will be 3 pH or 2 pH, 4 pH, like that. It will come down 4, 3, 2, like that. After 4th day, you can see that brew will be only 2 pH. So such a thing you can develop and apply in the pond, so that your pond pH is taken care. Probiotic daily, as I was telling, 100 gram per acre. And the 100 gram per acre, it depends on the strength of the probiotic what you are using. And generally they give recommendation. Suppose if they give recommendation 500 gram per acre, like that, you can split into 250 gram per acre and apply twice in a week. That will give very better production than the previous regular regime. Generally, manufacturer gives once in a week you use, or once in 10 days, 15 days, like that. That is not going to help you, because once you apply probiotic, within 2-3 days, that efficiency comes down. After 4th day, 5th day, there may not be any probiotic. This we have established by testing the motility of the spores in the pond by lab. And after that, we have changed like this. So every week there should be 2 application. Literally, you can say that 3 days gap, on 4th day you have to apply probiotic. If you do, and instead of giving the whole bigger quantity, lesser quantity is more efficient. So lesser quantity, more frequency will take care of the pond. And chain dragging in the bottom, I was telling what was all the advantage and all. And this has to be started from the beginning, and the initial days, maybe in twice in a week, something like that. Once it has little more and you establish the proper bloom, chain dragging every week it is required. One time it is very much. If you keep on doing it, you are not allowing the pond to accumulate a sludge, and that sludge will convert into your all unwanted gases, all those things. So when you are having high pH, there should not be no zeolite, no AG lime, or no mineral. All these things, zeolite, agricultural lime, and mineral will definitely increase your pH. When you want to bring down the pH, you should not use such things. Next, please. Yeah. Then we are come to luminescent bacteria, bioluminescence. Most of the cases, what we are seeing, with the higher salinity and more creek water based and sea water based, you get particularly in summer season, April, May, you get a bioluminescence that comes with the water. What are all the bioluminescence? Generally, it is dinoflagellates. What are all the species? Gymnodinium, Serratium, Gonialax, Viridinium. These are all the common species which is available in our water. And higher salinity, it is more the problem. You can even, by walking on the bund, you can see the smell. When the aerator is running, you can feel the smell of the water. That will definitely, that water will be a little tricky color, not a green color or not what do you call brownish color. It is in between and different, and it will start foaming. And once you run the aerator, there will be some foaming, and that will get accumulated on a wind-driven corner. So here what we can do, you have to use probiotic, as I was telling earlier, smaller quantity, more frequent. BKC point. Suppose if you use BKC, you don't have to use probiotic. You have to use BKC. That BKC will kill the dinoflagellate. After that, you 1 day BKC application, 1 day gap. Again, you have to go for probiotic. So what is the quantity you can use? BKC 6 liter to 10 liter per hectare, 1 meter water depth, 0.6 to 1 ppm. Dilute with fresh water. In peak summer, generally, suppose if high salinity, you got a lot of bioluminescence issue. If you have got any freshwater facility, or even if you are lucky enough, you sudden downpour, rain, a very good rain with some 5 centimeter water, something like that, it will take care. It will kill all the dinoflagellate. So if you have got a fresh water, you can bring down the salinity 5 ppt at least. That will take care of the at the particular point of time, what was the present, the population of dinoflagellate that will get killed due to salinity difference. But nowadays, even lower salinity also, it is getting accumulated, and in very low salinity also, you can see the bioluminescence. So rice bran and jaggery will also help, but that has to be given a little quantity, and regularly you have to use it. Next, please. So this is the dinoflagellate bloom where it is uncontrolled. When you're leaving like this, you can have a lot of foams like this. The entire pond will get covered. Once the foam is covered, the pond top surface, what will happen? Generally, there will be a epoxidation and the low DO down below, and you will have a problem. In such cases, sometimes if you do probiotic wrongly, also you will lose the pond. For example, one guy, I was there in Ramayapatnam area. One guy had such a problem, and he used 2 kg of probiotic in the pond to take care of the pond immediately, so fast. So what happened? It is completely, totally, and lot of foam started, and the water has become crystal clear, and we could not save the pond. Within 3-4 days, the pond is lost. So here it is important point that I was telling you, can use probiotic. Probiotic has to be used in very less quantity, and more frequency will take care. Otherwise, you have to kill this bloom with the dinoflagellate, then things will improve. Dinoflagellate you can use by BKC 1 day, and then give 1 day gap, and next day you can go for probiotic again with a lesser quantity. Next, please. Yeah. This is again fungal infection. It's to loose shell, and the fungal infection generally is not for vanami. And when you come into particularly monodon, you get because of eutrophication, you get glutamium problem. So a microsporidium, what do you call your protozoan? Yeah, protozoan infection. So protozoan infection start coming with the eutrophicated water, and you have to treat it properly. Otherwise, what will happen? That infection will be mild, and you will always be losing some survivability in the long run. And if you are maintaining pond about 4 months, 5 months, and you ended up with very poor survival, and that is going to be disastrous for you. So here the main point is you have to keep the fungal infection under control from the beginning. That is very, very important. Next, please. This is good quality monodon seed. You have to select, and as I was telling earlier, you can check with the manufacturer, SPF people who is giving seed, and what is their farm performances and other thing, how the track record, all these things, and don't mind spending some 3,000-4,000 rupees for testing. So it's very, very important. You have to test all the seed, and then only you got to select the seed. Next, please. Stocking preferably in the early morning, and overnight we allow generally for the transport. This allows overnight transportation of PL. While transferring the PL to farm from hatchery, sufficient care to be taken to avoid stress to them. I remember earlier we used to bring down the temperature to 3-4 degrees in the water, and put a lot of artemia and even some charcoal into that to take care of the ammonia and all. And then, the people use some colorant or stress reliever into the water also for the packet. So leave the packets in the pond water for 30 minutes, after 20-30 minutes minimum. And then that is the acclimated, because once you open the packet, the oxygen is completely escaped. Then it becomes the stress. So if you keep in the water and keep on flashing water for hours together, that will definitely stress your seed, and you will have lesser survival. You are already asking the hatchery guide to match up with your salinity. If you are asking what salinity, that is being provided in the hatchery itself. So here what you have to do, you have to match only the water temperature in your pond water and the seed water. So for that, you can just throw the packet from 30 minutes, 40 minutes. When the temperature both the side it is sufficient, you can just cut open and leave it. That will have a very good survivability. So pour a few bags in a big drum and add equal amounts of water and release slowly. That is another way of doing. Many people used to have some aerator system and some acclimatization tank, and then they will put in that, put more water, pond water, and slowly they will take up that, take the pond. Pop the seed bags, load them in a corner in the pond and splash water gradually and fill the bags off level and then release slowly. So this is within half an hour it has to be done. If you are keeping hours together without oxygen, that will definitely going to stress you. Next, please. Feed management is very critical, the most important in successful farming. I remember the presentation when it was made long back, it was about 45% of share only the input cost. Now it has become 50-60. In some cases, it is even going beyond 60% of the total input cost. So initial feeding has to be done very carefully. Overfeeding leads to heavy blooming, ammonia, protozoan infection, and bad bottom. Underfeeding leads to too much size variation, lesser survival, and lesser growth. 4 equal feeding is advised from the beginning. And then 4 equal feed, the timing can be selected like 7 a.m., 11 a.m., and say we around 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. like that. The powdered and crumbled feed should be sprinkled with water for better spreading, because without putting some water or something like that, and then the crumbled or powdered feed will be driven in the wind direction, and mostly it will fall on the bud. And in many cases, for the smaller size pond, even big size pond also, we insist what you have to have the rope system, you have to have a boat feeding. That is very, very important, because the bun feeding generally, the smaller feed may not reach the pond water. So that is very, very important. So here you need a boat feeding, and float feeding is very much from the beginning. Boat or float can be some thermocol pith, and then thing can be done. Here you can see the boat or float feeding. Why? Because see where the rope is there, where the aerator, how much distance from the bund you can see here, and then how much area he is spreading the feed. So both the side he can spread, and one fellow will be doing the entire pond, he will be covering it. In case if it is required bigger pond, another guy can feed from the bund from the side. So that will take it. For the initial days, the feed has to be given to the shrimp. Once it reaches or grown up to 3-4 grams, then it will come running for the shrimp. So the initial days, the more spreading and the uniform spreading throughout the pond will give very good performances in the pond. End of the month, you can say, imagine end of the month, if you are able to get a 5-6 gram, at least 5 gram or 4 gram, that is very good growth. End of the month, if you are getting only 2.5 gram, that will be a lot of size variation, and that will take a lot of time to reach the bigger size. So blend feed start with 2 kg per lakh per PL. That is the standard chart from the beginning we use, and still it's there with that. And in case of SPF, the same thing starts with that, but only thing you have to have the number. The most of the people what here they do know, they take only the hatchery count. That should not be there. So they have to count the seed on the pan bund. How much seed is packed in hatchery, that is irrelevant. How much you receive, how much you stock, that is very important. Based on your counting, you have to decide the quantity. In case if the quantity is more and you are feeding lesser, and you will not have a better performances. Or in case your seed is less and you are giving more feed, you are polluting the pond bottom, and you are not maintaining the pond healthy till the harvest time. So here 2 kg is the general starting for this thing. Monodon 2 kg you can start. Next 9 days per day 300 gram per kg, and next 10 days 400 gram per kg, and next 10 days 500 gram per day. per kg feed you'll have to sort. Depends on the number of thing you have to increase gradually like this. For the first month, 200 to 250 kg per lakh has been given. This is only 7% of the total feed. The remaining 93% feed, it is in our hand, that we have to be very strict, and then we can have on a demand feed, we can save a lot of feed also. But if you are stingy and not properly done with the 7%, and the entire result is totally changing. And I was telling earlier, you have to use for biosecurity, and for say 5 gram of feed probiotic, 5 gram of vitamin C, that you can use only for this 200 to 250 kg. You take 250 kg per month, and 2 meal you are using 1 meal probiotic, 1 meal vitamin C. That is out of 4 meal, 2 meal means the 250 kg comes to 125 kg. The first month for 125 kg, 5 gram feed mixing you are going to give. How much quantity that is? It is going to be only 125 into 5 gram. It is only 625 gram. 625 gram, any damn product, it is not going to cost you more than 200 rupees at the max, 2000 rupees at the maximum. So with the 2000 rupees, you are ensuring that you are not getting disease. Our pond is going very good like that. Only here, many people are doing this. We have been telling this thing for quite some time, almost say 20 years we have been talking like this. But still, many people just stock it. Don't do anything, just feed and make it bloom. That is what they are doing. I'm insisting that the probiotic has to be given more frequent in the pond water, and feed mixing has to be done as I was recommending. And only these two changes will take care of many ponds. You can check with that wherever the farm is going good and the farmer is doing good. You check with them. This they regularly follow. Others they don't follow. They will definitely end up in problem in 30 days, 35 days, 40 days like that. If you are ending up in problem with 30, 40 days, you are not going to do anything like that. It is going totally, because you are losing the crop and you are losing huge money also. So this right initial feed will give you very good, Ravi, 1 minute, Ravi, 2 points just back. Cover. Initial feed will give very good survival, uniform size, growth. I was selling 4 to 5 grams at the end of the first month. If any doubt on the survival, check back and restart the feed. Observe on the sites day and night. If not responding, check nut feed. Many cases people say it's not coming, it is not coming like that. So you can stop feeding, put a check nut only, and then check. Night time you can have a torch and then good torch and go around and see what is happening. Definitely you can make out. If you are stop feeding and putting only check nut, if there is a survival, definitely it will come to the check nut, and then you can revive the feed. Okay, next please. Check nut feeding. The check nut feed quantity in gram and kg with the checking time is given below. We generally start with generally monodon stocking we are doing in a less pieces, and then it will come for a very rare cases it comes about 25 days check nut feed. Most of the cases it is 30-35 days only it will come for the check nut feeding. You can after 1 month you can start feeding on the check nut. After 1 month, let us say it is 4 gram. You can start with 6 gram and 2.5 hour time for the feeding time. And slowly, as the shrimp goes, slowly the bigger sizes, you can increase the grams, 6 gram, 7 gram, 8 gram like that. And most of the cases in bigger shrimp, say 31 to 40 grams size, again, 12 gram. Even beyond 41, 20 gram in 20 count means we are beyond 40 gram, 50 gram, 55 gram. So 15 gram per kg shrimp you can give, and for 15 gram per kg feed, check nut quantity you can give. That is even 1 hour. You can within 1 hour. Even the peak time feeding you within half an hour, such a big shrimp will eat away. So 1 hour is the timing for that. You can keep it like that. But this still matches with that. But Vanami there may be a little different of this thing. But the tiger it stands still, and most of the cases it is good. And in case if you are getting a better growth in SPF monodon, suppose 3 gram, 4 gram per week it comes, then you have to increase the check nut quantity, and you can reduce the timing also, depends on the feed consumption. So this is what for the check nut feeding. Next, please. So this is feeding on percentage basis. Shrimp sizes, it is 10 gram, 4%. In case of Banami, it is 3.5%. 15 gram, 3.5%. 20 gram, 3%. 25 gram, 2.5%. 30 gram, 2%. 35 gram, 1.8%. 40 to 50 gram, 1.7%. Generally, it will not come down to 1.7%. In case of winter or lesser temperature, it may come down to 1.3, 1.4 like that. But is the standard parameter I am talking about it 1.7 for whatever the size. Even if it grows 55 gram, 60 gram also, If with the peak temperature or very good temperature, it may be around 7.8% only. So this we will have to keep it in mind. Yes, please. Feeding based on check net, again, see, they can check what is the leftover action to be taken. If it is completely eaten, you can increase 10%. If it is 2 gram, that could be the right feeding. So you have to maintain the same. Again, 5 gram decrease by 10%, 10 gram decrease by 20%. More than 25% is left over in the check net itself, you can decrease by 40%. If a lot of feed is left over, you can skip 2 feed and restart with 40%. You may ask me again 2 gram, 5 gram, 10 gram, whether how we are judging the current quantity. It is with the experienced people you can do it, but new people you have to make some experiment and show them this is what 2 gram, this is what 5 gram, this is what 10 gram, like that. How it is, you can measure 2 gram and 5 gram, 10 gram, 25 gram feed and put in a glass, glasses, our water glasses. Our glasses, you can put in the glasses, just keep for 2 hours time as we are feeding time, and after that you see that how much it is bulged. You can put in a paper, each one, it is just 2 gram, this is 5 gram after 2.5 hours, this is 10 gram after 2.5 hours, this is 25 gram after 2.5 hours. By showing the visible examination to the pond monitor guy, who is that, the supervisor or the new guy or new feed boy, you can show them this is the quantity after when taking water, when you are going for checking time. Otherwise, the pond, without having some idea what they will do, there's some 10 gram left over also, they will write only 2 gram. So that will give you a wrong calculation, and you will end up with in higher FCR. So this is very, very critical. You have to train them, and feed monitoring has to be done by an experienced person. Every crop is an experience. They have to monitor and they have to make record everything, and always the record should be there for check back in the next crop where we end up in problem, and which pond has given very good performance, what we have done. The same thing can be repeated for the next crop. So that is very, very important. Next, please. So feeding technique during mass molting, when the feed drops too low, straight away cut down 2 meals and then restart with 40% less and increase as they consume. Cloudy day, low DO, bloom crash, high pH, heavy rain, any chemical treatment have to be managed with proper feed adjustment. For example, in case if you are using a BKC, I used to recommend BKC application can be done morning after the first feeding, say about 8 to 9 a.m. like that. Once you do BKC application, you can switch on the aerator continuously. Next feed you have to skip. 11 o'clock, there is no need of feed, and next feeding 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, next feeding you can do as usual. So this is what that management. So depends on, suppose if there is a bloom crash, immediately stop feeding till the time, at least one day, then only you'll have to feed. Because a lot of crashing means a lot of accumulation on the bottom, lot of ammonia develop. If you feed there, you are going to pollute the pond only. You are not only polluting, and by putting the feed into the system, you are spending money in terms of feeder cost also. So this is very important. So be strict and give demand feed and check back the survival based on feed consumption and do correction. This is very, very important, because you do very good production, but if your FCR is under control, your maximum production cost is taken care. For say 20 count shrimp, at the maximum, say 2 is allowed. But the efficient way is about 1.6, 1.8. If you're able to do it, you are doing very good like that. But if going 2.53 like that and all, it is, you are losing a lot of money into that. So here, because 4 or 5 months you have to keep the pond healthy. You have to be very careful in giving feed and taking care of the pond bottom. Yes, next please. So temperatures versus feeding, again you see 24 to 25 degrees centigrade. For any shrimp to take to the feeding full gut, it take long time. In case it is 28 to 30 degrees centigrade, it's a right feeding can be done. In the peak summer, if you see 32 to 33 degrees centigrade also, water temperature comes. In such cases, full gut in a very short time, and such cases it even is excess feed also it will use. So 22 to 24 degrees centigrade. For particularly this 20 to 24 in winter, you can use only 3 time feeding, because now for feeding it takes a lot of time. 3 time feeding like us, morning one breakfast, midday lunch, and then evening one time dinner like that. So morning 7 o'clock or 12 noon, or evening 5 p.m., 6 p.m. like that, you can give 3 feeding time only in the winter. And you can see that so when generally we talk about 2.5 hours initially, or 2 hours standard time feeding, after the feeding, or 1.5 hour, depends on the size. But in the winter, it will be a lot of time. It will take a lot of time. 2 hours, if you see, there will be a lot of feed. But 2.5 or 3 hours, it will consume more. So you are giving more time in the lower temperature winter crop season. Normally 4 times per day it is sufficient, because and many people think a lot of experiments conducted, instead of 4 times, 6 times, 8 times and all, that did not give any better yield. So the standard is for our tiger condition, the density which we use is 4 times per day. It is more than sufficient. So 32 to 33 degrees centigrade and 20 to 30% excess feed also consumed. So you may assume that it is eating a lot of feed, you'll have a lot of biomass like that. That may not be that. Depends on the temperature. Instead of say for 1 ton, it's supposed to use 20 kg, it may eat 25 kg also. You may think that 25 kg means you'll have 1.25 ton like that. It may not be. It may be having only 1 ton only. So here you have to be very careful. Yes, next please. Water quality parameters, say, from the beginning we are doing it. Only how we are managing that is very, very important. Dissolved oxygen, if you are able to maintain 4 ppm and above, you'll have a very good. If it is less than 4 ppm, 3 ppm, 2.5 ppm, that will not be any problem, but the growth will be lesser growth. It will be affected by the lesser growth. And in such cases, if any ammonia develops or high, immediately stress will come. So try to keep an oxygen level more than 4 ppm. pH 7.5 to 9, and optimum is about for monodon bigger size about 7.8 to 8.3, something like that. And initial days it will be a little bit higher. After 1 month, if you do properly dolomite application and all, the better is about 7.5 to 8.5 the maximum, and the final stages it will be about 8 to 8.3, 8.3 or 7.2 to 8.3 like that. That will be very ideal and temperature, of course, it is not in our hand, but best suitable is 24 to 34 degree to have a better thing. And in many cases, it is, suppose if we stock in April, May, and we end up in rainy season, still we get better. Only winter, the growth will be lesser, and then weekly growth we have to maintain, and we have to maintain the pond till the time the temperature picks up, maybe perhaps in January or February like that. So for the April crop, there should not be any issue. Total ammonia, it's again total ammonia. What we all the lab gives, what you give, it is 10 total ammonia. That should be less than 3 ppm. Generally, if it gives 2 ppm, 1 ppm, or between 1 to 2 ppm, it is not going to affect the survivability, but it will definitely affect the growth. Unionized ammonia, say less than 0.25 ppm. Nitrite, say it is less than 10 ppm for 15 ppt or less than 15 ppt freshwater, 5 ppm, less than 5 ppm for above 15 ppt salinity water. The more salinity water, it is more problematic. In low salinity water, it is less problematic. Alkalinity, more than 80 ppm. Hydrogen sulfide, less than 0.1 ppm. Next, please. Water quality maintenance, as I was telling initially, chain dragging has to be done every day, and as the culture advances, the frequency has to be lessened and once in a week. Till harvest must be done. Regularly it has to be done. Suddenly, if you don't do, you should not do it. If you don't do, for 1 month, 1.5 months, and you want to start immediately, you are inviting the problem. It will increase the turbidity or lift up all the bottom sludge, and you will have a lot of gill infection and all. That is, you have to be very good. So you have to design, properly design a system and then follow it from the beginning. A decent bloom developed initially with the right feeding and friendly pond management will keep good water quality till the end of the crop. If your pond is stocked with 10 to 12 pieces density and with a regular probiotic application, there is no need for water exchange till 90 days. Or after that also, it depends on again the availability of water and the condition of the water, because now you use a lot of probiotic and even bottom probiotic that take care of your bottom, and in most of the cases only harvest time we used to open it, and for vanami that also we are not opening, only by dragnet you completely remove the shrimp, leave the water there itself, no need of opening the drain at all. So such things are happening. After 60 days, in between the pond probiotic dose, 1 dose of soil probiotic should be regularly to take care of the pond bottom. As I was telling, every 4th day you can give. Suppose if you want to give soil probiotic, don't go for pond probiotic again. Such cases, either any one to be given, like that. Continuously giving, so 2 times. Suppose soil probiotic can be subsequently given 2 times, and then next again pond probiotic can be used. Water exchange is the best way to improve the water quality if it is required. So if there is a problem, you want to treat that. So in case if you are having the system has got water, it can be done easily without anything. If you got reservoir facility and plenty of water, definitely you go for water exchange. That will take care of the pond from the present problem, whatever the problem is. That is the first thing. If in case if you don't have water, no option for water exchange, then you have to think for the other possible method of management. Yes, please. Next. This is a healthy blue color shape. Blue color is again, I'll show you in some other thing. Initial days, tiger used to have a lot of blue color, and because of malnutrition, and there is no astaxanthins insufficient. Sometimes you will lead hatchery seed. Sometimes you may have you can see some blue coloration. That means that the proper nutrition is not there. It is not sufficient for that. You have to improve the nutrition. How you can improve? By whatever the feed you are getting, you have to use the very quality feed. And again, you can use spirulina. Spirulina incorporated product from the companies, different companies are giving. So that will give you, the protein as well as, in metabolite as astaxanthin. That will take care of the blue color formation. Now, so healthy blue color also will be there. That will be, the entire pond will have, depends on the color, and that will definitely be very attractive and fetching also. Next, please. And the fungal infection, Zoothamium, earlier we were discussing the Zoothamium protozoan infection. The reason is overfeeding, overblooming. So here, what happens in overfeeding, overblooming, and again the probiotic you have to select in a better way. There are some probiotics will have more fungal species. How you can find out that if you use a probiotic in the pond, after the probiotic, within 2-3 days, the pond water has to have a partial crash from over color to reduced or decent bloom color. In case if it is increased the color after the application, the breakdown happens. If the color is increased, that is not going to help you. So after the probiotic application, you have to watch after the 3rd day or 4th day, your water become decent with less slimy, lesser bloom from the before to application what the condition was. So this is very, very important. In such cases, the probiotic is very good. In case if you are not getting the result, you have to see and change the probiotic and then check it, because the probiotic application should not give overblooming. That is very important. If it is giving overblooming or because of your overfeeding, you are in eutrophication. Eutrophication main reason for the Zoothamium and protozoal infection. So here you have to select a good probiotic. Add a slime eating probiotic category. Okay. So sometimes there are probiotics available that will take care of the how, because protozoan formation comes, the top of the shrimp there will be slime. When the slime comes, the filamentous algae sits on it and then establishes like a ghost shrimp. It will get into the gill. It will cover the entire antenna, all the thing. Once it is infected, that will not eat feed, and slowly it will become loose shell and it will die. Otherwise, people generally they go for a Zoothamium, Zoothamnicide. It is nothing but the Treflan. Treflan is not allowed even for a Japanese export. There were issues earlier. So instead of Treflan, you have to use a probiotic from the beginning and take care of it properly, and you'll not end in fungal infection. Otherwise, you can treat with the lie I have given is what are the things. Burnt lime application from 7 to 8 ppm apply in the pond. That will take that. You can use the formalin 10 to 15 ppm at 9 a.m. in the morning. As I was saying earlier, irrigation. Night time it may lead to some low DO that you have to take care. It will be there one time for health check and one time for growth check like that. So always very important. If you keep on checking, within 2-3 days, there could be a lot of changes in the pond. So that is very, very important. So once in a week, you'll have to go for a check. Growth checking, and the same. So what I was telling, particularly the EH infection, when we compare to Monodan and Banami, there are some difference, depends on the feeding habit. EHP is not a serious issue for Monodan. Why? Because the Monodan is preferred to be carnivorous and selective feeder. If you give feed in the pond, it will eat. Otherwise, it will even starve. It will not eat at the pond bottom maximum generally. But Banami eats on omnivore and it eats on the bottom, so it attracts more infection. Monodan doesn't get such infection so fast. So it is the advantage for Monodan where you are continuously failing with the Banami, with the EHV infection, more saline water. Such area you can go for Monodan. Definitely your success will be different. Only the advantage of feeding habit that has got an advantage over EHV infection. So management technique over here, health check has to be done every week by cast netting, sampling once in a week for growth, monitoring is okay. If weekly growth is less than 1.5 gram continuously, and that is not viable. And of late, I was told for the SPF, even sometimes 3-4 gram growth is also coming like that. That is an excellent performance. So for such, you have to be very careful in feeding, and the quantity of feed you give check net, and monitoring is very, very important. Harvesting has to be done well planned and to be done just before the pre-mold condition. What is the pre-mold condition? That is by experience, the farm manager can find out the pre-mold condition. That means after a mold, gradually the feed will be increasing. Every day the feed will become, and it will come to a peak and then fall down before the next molting. After the molting, it will fall down. Before the next molting, it has come. Suppose today increase, day tomorrow will increase, day after tomorrow, 3-4 days increases. Or fifth day before the next mold starts, you have to harvest. In such a condition, if you are able to harvest, there will not be any hand picking, there will not be any molting, there will not be any issue. Everything will come into good intact. So your better performance will be there. So that is very important. That you have to feed and the best, the observation by the farm. That is very important. Because if you are planning harvesting at the wrong time, you will end up with a lot of stress mold and pre-mold condition or molting. It's a lot of peeling they will write, and even by after the fresh, when you bring down the water level during harvest, there may be some cannibalism also, and you will lose some. Even if you are losing some 30-40 kg or 100 kg of shrimp in the harvest, that is huge money. So that has to be taken care of properly. During harvest, there should not be any stress or low DO to the shrimp, and timing has to be selected accordingly. Generally, harvesting, suppose if you are doing it preferably after lunch, before say 9 p.m., 8 p.m., or before 10 o'clock in the night, if you are finishing it, that is a very good timing. There will not be anything left over, won't be any hand picking. Everything will come into net fine product, fine harvest. You can do it. If you do in the early morning, you are likely to invite problem. If you are not doing it properly, suppose if you got more biomass and less water, you are likely to end up with a stress DO, and a lot of problems will be there. Suppose if there is a condition, you have to undergo emergency harvest. In such cases, what you can do, you can throw some dissolved oxygen product like calcium peroxide or sodium perborate. Some few kgs, what it is going to cost some 3,000-4,000 rupees or 5,000 rupees, but it will take care of the entire crop. Entire pond production. That is very, very important. In 20 count shrimp, if you lose a 30-40 kg also, that is a huge money. That we'll have to keep it in mind.
Thank you very much, Cheran. You have covered each and every aspect of tiger shrimp farming. I think this is going to be a Bible for many of us. Thank you very much.